This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Thursday, December 3rd. I'm Ephraim Graham. Ahead today, the death toll from the coronavirus and the number of hospitalizations still rising rapidly. And the increasing number of cases is taking a heavy toll on those working the front lines. While President Donald Trump again claims voter fraud in a long speech from the White House. We're also going to take a look at what Joe Biden's agenda would be, including his plans for rejoining the Iran nuclear deal. But one expert warns Iran has a dangerous ally. And we're going to take you to Jerusalem for an inside look at an historic location, the Tower of David. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour with the growing number of daily deaths from the coronavirus, topping 2,700 for the first time, according to Johns Hopkins University. And hospitalizations are hitting new highs every day as medical providers are desperately trying to add beds and find nurses and doctors to work. Some governors are even trying to get nurses to come out of retirement. And as Heather Sells now reports, the heavy burden of caring for patients is taking a heavy toll on those frontline workers.
A grim warning from the head of the Centers for Disease Control Wednesday, saying that in the next 3 months, the pandemic will get worse.
December and January and February are going to be rough times. I actually believe they're going to be the most difficult time in the public health history of this nation.
The reason earlier COVID surges were regional. This time, rates in all parts of the country are rising. Right now, the COVID Tracking Project reports more than 100,000 Americans are hospitalized with the virus, and 2,700 have died from it in just the past 24 hours.
You just sit there and hold their hand. They want you to limit 15 minutes in the room, but how do you walk away from somebody that's saying, I just want to die?
Operation Warp Speed expects emergency authorization for the first vaccine by December 15th. Pfizer plans to release 6.4 million doses that day, with 12 million from Moderna possibly available a week later. States across the country are preparing their vaccine storage facilities.
This will happen at hospital systems or facilities equipped with ultra-cold storage.
Virginia expects just 70,000 doses from Pfizer in the first wave.
We have plans in place for determining who goes first.
Governors and local leaders will ultimately decide who gets the vaccine, but the CDC says that nursing home patients and healthcare workers should be first in line. There is fresh concern about mental health for these frontline heroes. In a new survey, 8 in 10 say they're experiencing anxiety, while 3/4 report exhaustion and burnout.
Once worry transforms to anxiety or depression, these things don't go away on their own.
Regent University professor and therapist Danny Holland works with these providers and says many do or will need counseling to go forward. For now, self-care and empathy from family members will help.
Those things really can do a lot to both kind of release some of the stress and increase resilience.
That's good news not only for healthcare workers, but their patients as well. Heather Sells, CBN News.
President Donald Trump is again claiming election fraud in a speech recorded at the White House and released online yesterday. The president said, quote, "This may be the most important speech I've ever made," as he spoke about voter fraud and irregularities, including mail-in voting.
We used to have what was called Election Day. Now we have election days, weeks and months, and lots of bad things happened during this ridiculous period of time, especially when you have to prove almost nothing to exercise our greatest privilege, the right to vote. This colossal expansion of mail-in voting opened the floodgates to massive fraud. It's a widely known fact that the voting rolls are packed with people who are not lawfully eligible to vote, including those who are deceased, have moved out of their state, and even are non-citizens of our country. Beyond this, the records are riddled with errors, wrong addresses, duplicate entries, and many other issues. This is not disputed.
The president said he also wanted to ensure Americans can have faith in all future elections, but so far the president's legal team has not been successful in its court challenges. Meanwhile, Joe Biden is moving ahead with naming his choices for his administration, and America will see some big changes in policy if he takes over the White House come January 20th. From climate change to foreign policy to immigration and more, he is set to begin reversing course from the past 4 years. If he takes office, the former vice president reportedly is planning to sign a series of executive orders overturning President Trump's policies. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy has the details.
America's back. If elected, the 46th president plans to reverse several of President Trump's policies by executive orders.
The United States will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord.
But Biden wants to rejoin the Paris Climate Accord.
Climate change and climate warming, the global warming, is an existential threat to humanity.
The former VP wants net zero emissions by 2050 and proposed $2 trillion in clean energy and infrastructure spending.
We will be today terminating our relationship with the World Health Organization.
Again, Biden plans to reverse that move. He also wants to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal as long as the regime comes back into compliance.
Iran has a robust, impressive ballistic missile system that can deliver a nuclear warhead, and now they're very precise, and now they have what they call a missile train, where they can fire multiple ballistic missiles at one time. And even Israel, with probably the world's best anti-missile system, may not be able to hit all those incoming missiles.
Iran claims it would reduce its stockpile of uranium if Biden lifts sanctions on Tehran, which Iran's foreign minister suggests could be done through 3 executive orders. Biden also aims to use executive powers in these areas, repealing Trump's travel ban from Muslim countries like Iran, Libya, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen, reinstating the Dreamers program, which allows kids of undocumented immigrants to remain in the U.S., and undoing Trump's 2017 order banning transgender individuals from the military. In a Biden administration, they would serve openly in the armed forces. Now, Biden's team is planning the EO route in case the Senate control stays in Republican hands, making legislation a challenge. We won't know that outcome until early January. Ben Kennedy, CBN News.
The number of abortions in the U.S. has been falling as the latest report issued by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention again showed a steady national decrease in the number of abortions. The CDC reports there were nearly 620,000 abortions in 2018, more than 610,000 in 2017. That is a drop of nearly 57% from the record high in 1990, when there were more than 1.4 million abortions. The numbers haven't fallen this low since abortion was legalized nationwide in 1973. Coming up, would a President Joe Biden try to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal? One expert tells us why that is unlikely and why Iran is looking to another country for help, China. We're going to bring you the story when we come back.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Get the top political news and analysis from Washington on Faith Nation, tonight at 6 Eastern, only on the CBN News Channel.
Will the United States rejoin the Iran nuclear deal agreement if Joe Biden is sworn in as president on January 20th? And what about the possible Iranian retaliation for the killing of the country's top nuclear scientists? On this week's episode of The Global Lane, retired Army Lieutenant Colonel, Middle East analyst Sagri Sangari says both are unlikely for now because the Iranian government is failing and it is turning to China for help.
Iran's foreign policy has nothing to do with how U.S., Europe, or other nations conduct their foreign policy. It is really tied to domestic internal issues that they're having a hard time grappling with. If you notice, since Friday, when the top nuclear scientist for Iran was killed, Iran has proposed multiple scenarios of who may have killed them and why. And in one of the processes, they have even blamed Israel for the killing. In this, they have actually strengthened Israel within the region that is trying to strike deals with all the Arab nations that are now lined up to be able to not only make peace with Israel, but have economic deals with Israel. So internal issues of the failing of the government is the reason why we are where we are today with Iran.
Sargis, if in fact this was Israel that took this action against another Iranian nuclear scientist, was it necessary to do that, in your opinion? What else could have been done to slow or prevent Iran developing a nuclear bomb?
Well, we don't know who has killed them, first of all. If Israel has killed them, Israel's showing that it has claws and it can reach out and touch anyone, to include even in Iran. The issue here is that if Iran's saying that Israel did it, then Iran cannot even protect its own borders, its own people internal to its own state. This is internal issues that are being faced in Iran. Iran has painted itself into a corner where the hardliners do not know how to be able to work with the international community. The problem here is that you have multiple different factions within Iran. You have the Revolutionary Guards, the hardliners. You got the standing army that is in charge of the border securities. You have multiple intelligence services in Iran themselves. And then you also, at the same time, have the hardliner president with his cabinet, and also the laws that have made it very difficult for anyone who's not a hardliner to be able to run in next year's elections. This is what has caused the problems in Iran, where these 80 million people that live in Iran are now hanging on a thread, hoping to see what the possible outcome of the U.S. election might be. Even in that capacity, I don't think Iran can survive its internal issues.
If he is sworn in as our 46th president, how likely is it that Joe Biden will try to rejoin the Iran nuclear deal, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action?
I think it would be very difficult. Iran is not just bankrupt. Its internal economy has collapsed. In this process, as it's trying to strike deals to possibly, with the hardliners, selling Iran to China for $400 billion, it is very difficult for us to see what the possible outcome would be with a Biden administration, which Iran knows that might be nothing more than a 2-year administration, given our government changes every 2 years, at least in the House of Representatives.
Okay, on another challenge for Biden, lying ahead right next door to Iran is Afghanistan. Do you think there should be a ceasefire between the government of Afghanistan and the Taliban before peace talks continue? Also, in your opinion, what needs to happen before all U.S. troops are returned home?
Well, the United States can leave Afghanistan as easily as it entered Afghanistan. However, with that said, it can never be separate from Afghanistan. Afghanistan has three major players in it. One is the ties that it has historically with Iran, and these are historical ties. Dari is actually the language that was spoken in the courts of the king Dariush, which Afghanistan was part of the Iran landscape historically while it was an empire. So that relationship has always been there. The language is still there being used. The other tie is to China. China has invested heavily, especially in the mining fields of Afghanistan. And China has had that historical relationship when it comes to the Silk Road that it uses Afghanistan for its land piece of the Belt and Road Initiative. And then, of course, the ties that started in Afghanistan once the Soviet Union invaded. So we can leave Afghanistan, but we can never leave Afghanistan when it comes to the political need of staying there. If you turn it over to China, China will not only take over Afghanistan, but will take over Iran, as it's trying to purchase Iran to a tune of $400 billion. It has already pretty much paid and has bought out every member of the parliament of Pakistan who has business ties to Chinese companies. That means if you lose Afghanistan to China, that means you will definitely lose in a near future Iran and Pakistan to China, and then virtually the entire Middle East.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see what happens here with a new administration or a continuation of the Trump administration. Sargis Angari, CEO of the Near East Center for Strategic Engagement. Thank you, Sargis. We appreciate you sharing your insights.
And you can see more important issues in the news on the Global Lane this evening at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And of course, you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Still ahead, we're going to take you to an historic location in Jerusalem, the Tower of David, and show you how a renewal project is uncovering hidden treasures and secrets of the Holy City. We're going to bring you this remarkable story when we come back.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Hidden passages, ancient walls, and archaic fortifications. Archaeologists say the very stones are speaking out as the historic Tower of David in Jerusalem gets its first major overhaul in hundreds of years. So what's it like inside this ancient citadel? Chris Mitchell brings us a rare look from Jerusalem.
It's seen Muslim invaders, Roman conquest, and the Crusaders. The Tower of David Museum is one of Israel's historic and archaeological treasures. Now it's one of the largest conservation projects here.
This is a rare and unique opportunity for archaeologists because we have a lot of questions about the citadel, archaeological questions, historical questions. Not every day you get the chance to explore a symbol in Jerusalem.
Jerusalem's chief archaeologist, Amit Re'em, oversees this massive project.
Suddenly, the stones start to speak, and we, the archaeologists, see things. We document everything. We are excavating. We discover hidden passages, ancient walls, ancient fortifications. It's becoming alive.
It's a huge project to renew this museum for the future visitors. Of course, we're talking about 7 new galleries which tell the story of Jerusalem, but it's more than this. It's all what you see around, conservation of the remains, the ancient walls, the infrastructure of the museum, and hope that soon, when the crisis will be over, visitors will come again and the Tower of David Museum will be ready and updated for them.
The last major construction project on the Citadel goes back to the 1500s when Suleiman the Magnificent rebuilt this fortification and the walls of the old city. It's a timepiece of Jerusalem.
You can see the layers upon layers upon layers and understand the beauty of the evidence, the archaeology, and the history together. The combination is really unique.
Everyone was here. Everyone wanted to seize the citadel, to hold the citadel. If you want to understand, if you want to learn about the history of Jerusalem, so this is the place, starting from the first temple period and ending in modern times. Right now, all the story is right here.
Re'em took us to an unusual discovery. The Renewal Project is uncovering hidden treasures and secrets of ancient Jerusalem. For example, this passageway may have been used by crusaders to escape the citadel.
Every time I'm here, I just imagine that in the time of trouble, all the knights, all the Crusader knights, all the Muslim knights, running away in this dark tunnel, emerging outside the city.
The citadel also holds a place called the Kishle, where now many believe Jesus was brought before King Herod.
In ancient Christian sources from the 5th, 6th century AD, they describe the way of the suffering starting on Mount Zion, going in approximately direct access toward the north, toward the Holy Sepulchre, meaning passing today the area of the citadel and the area of Herod's palace. And on the way, they describe the Praetorium, the place of the sentence. Meaning, in ancient Christian times, people saw the place of the Praetorium probably around Mount Zion, or today Jewish quarter, Armenian quarter, Herod Palace. Now, it's only natural to assume that when Pontius Pilate came to Jerusalem, where he sat? He sat in a luxurious place, in the former Herod Palace in Jerusalem, right here. And maybe, just maybe, the sentence of Christ happened here.
The Renewals Project goal is to bring the story of Jerusalem to life.
It's the heart of Jerusalem, and this place represents everything, all the story of Jerusalem. It's a very unique, it's a symbol of Jerusalem for many generations. So it's a great challenge, it's a great honor.
The visitor will have here the ultimate experience before they enter to visit Jerusalem. You must visit here.
The project will take 2 years to complete, but when tourists do return to Israel, the museum will be open. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Tower of David Museum, Jerusalem.
Coming up, a bit of Bethlehem comes to Washington, D.C., not only to celebrate Christmas, but to remind Christians of their own legal rights here in America. We're going to tell you about the message of this live nativity scene when we come back. Please stay with us.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy.
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
Young people, millennials, are flocking to church.
It's not an exaggeration to say that we love to meet them and that we love to know their stories.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Bethlehem came to Washington, D.C., where Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus were on hand for a live nativity scene outside the Supreme Court. Reenactors dressed up like ancient Israelites to commemorate the birth of Jesus with singing, praying, and reading the Christmas story from the Bible. The group Faith and Liberty puts on the Nativity every year. They do it right next to the Supreme Court as a reminder to Christians across the country that their legal right to celebrate scenes like these outside their local government facilities are often met with just a permit. Time now for your Thursday Thankful, and today I hope you will join me in this prayer of gratitude. Dear God, I thank you for endings. In them, I know you stand ready to give new beginnings. With that prayer, I encourage you to make today a day that is filled with gratitude. You can do it, and you can do that on purpose. That's going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. Thank you so much for watching. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us at that address right there on your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. We'd love to hear from you. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We encourage you to make today a thankful Thursday and join us right back here, same time tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.